Good morning, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the SlyyReport. I am your host, Gold D. Rank, first mate of the Gold Fang crew. And today we are getting into One Piece, chapter 1122. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we start this chapter with several shots around the world. We get people worried about what Vegapunk is talking about, worried about the world sinking. We got other people worried about pirates taking over or pirates being the dominant faction now that Vegapunk has said what he said. And then we got pirates being excited. They're like, hey, it's our time. You know, they're excited to go after the One Piece. Vegapunk has basically reinvigorated the race for the One Piece. So, that's happening. But we even go to the Marines. And the Marines are upset and talking about what Vegapunk has just said. We see some Marines, they're like, oh man, now we gotta go after it. We gotta capture it. But others are like, who's gonna look after the citizens if we do all this grandiose adventuring, looking for a treasure that might not exist, that they know exists, but they have no idea where it is. So we then gonna cut over to Kobe, and Kobe's in the hospital, and he's heard this news, and now he's reflecting upon the first conversation he had with Luffy, and he says, he makes this proclamation out loud, determination on his face and everything. He's like, I'm sorry, Luffy, but I'm gonna have to stop you from achieving your dream. And this is significant for two reasons. One, for those of y'all who don't have faith in Kobe, I suggest you rethink. Kobe he's the reason he is such an important character is because he is anti-Luffy. Not anti-Luffy in the sense of he's the opposite of Luffy, but he's more so what Luffy could have been if Luffy would have bought into what Garp was selling him. You know what I'm saying? So that's important for that. That's growth, character growth, double down on the determination for Kobe, and that's important. But also it's important because as soon as Kobe heard this, his mind didn't go to nobody else but Luffy. In his mind, there is nobody that's going to achieve this besides Luffy, and he has to stop Luffy. So, mad respect for Kobe because he has mad respect for Luffy. He understands that nothing's going to stop Luffy from his dream, so he has to be the roadblock that stops him. Man, great character development for the boy Kobe. We then go over to Cross Guild, right? Cross Guild, the people these days, they are gassing Buggy's head up. They're like, yeah, the world's gonna belong to you, Captain Buggy. And Captain Buggy's like, what you mean my world? This gonna be our world, ain't it? He hyping them up. And then we got Croc and Mihawk in the background, and they just looking mad annoyed with Buggy's shenanigans. And then Buggy looks back, and Crocodile's like, hey, come have a seat. We gotta talk. But that is not the only thing. We then cut over to Katarina Devon and Van Augur, and they with Caribou, and they're talking to Blackbeard. And Caribou's like, Katarina's like, yeah, we got this guy. He says he got some news for you. Do you want us to just kill him? And Blackbeard's like, nah, bring him here. And if the news ain't as good as he say it is, I'll kill him. So, we got the number one Blackbeard Glazer on the way to Blackbeard to try and tell him what he knows about what we know that he knows, the ancient weapons and everything he's found out in his various travels and being stuck with the Straw Hats. So, that is happening. All of this stuff is happening. We get these shots all around the world, but we got to get back to the meat and potato. We got to get back to Egghead, and that's what we going to do. So stay tuned, and we going to get right back. So then we are cutting back to Egghead Island, where we got Vegapunk's message. He's continuing. He's about to say something about Joy Boy, but the Iron Giant Emmis, he gets attacked by Saint Warcury. And Warcury, he knocks him over. The Iron Giant Emmis, he's still operational, but the Din Din Mushi that's broadcasting the message to the people that is finally destroyed and the message is cut off. So that's happening. As that is happening, we cut over to the Sunny, where Nasujiro is in hot pursuit, and he's galloping through the air. I'm guessing, like, I guess he could just wholesale fly with whatever power he has. But he's using some type of moonwalk Geppo, you know what I'm saying? He's using something, but he's running on the air. So he's after the Sunny. We see Zoro getting ready to intercept. Somebody's yelling for Zoro to do something. I'm assuming it's Nami, because you know how she is. She would be the most likely candidate to be like, hey, get off your ass and do something about this. So Nami's yelling at Zoro. From my assumption, Nami's yelling at Zoro to do something. Zoro's already in mid-action. This is what Zoro noticed last chapter. When I say noticed that Zoro noticed something, this is what he noticed. He noticed that Nasujiro was already coming back in hot pursuit. So, Emmett got knocked over. The Denden Mushi's done. The message is done. That happened by Workery. Zoro and the people on the Sunny, they noticed Nasujiro is still in hot pursuit. That's happening. But we got to continue. We can't stop here. We can't focus on these two things. There is more happening on Egghead that we have to tell you guys about. So, as this is happening, we cut back over to Emmett. We find out what's happening with the Iron Giant. And at this point, Emmett is speaking to Luffy. And I'm going to give you the verbatim conversation, because I feel like it's important that you get all the context. And this is just from the translation I read. So I know everybody reads different translations. Some people wait on the officials, but this is from what I read. So it starts off with Emmett saying, I am sorry, Joy Boy. Luffy hears this and responds, the Iron Giant? Emmett says, I want to apologize to you, too. I knew that there was no chance he would still be alive. And Luffy says, did you mistake me for somebody else? Emmett responds to this by saying, you look just like him. It was nostalgic. My feelings from that day came rushing back. I hope Joy Boy forgives me. I failed to make him king. While this is happening, we see Jupiter, and he's aiming to attack the giants. Nasujiro, he's after the Sunny. Saturn, he's starting to regenerate. And Emmett, he's facing off against Workery. So that's happening while this conversation is happening between Emmett, the Iron Giant, and Luffy. So after what Emmett says, Luffy responds with King. And then Emmett continues. What is your name? Asking this of Luffy. Luffy says, the typical, I am Monkey Dude Luffy, the man who's going to be king of the pirates. Emmett, he says, D. And as he says this, we see him pulling on a section of himself from around his midsection, and he's pulling a knot that was tied within himself loose. So we see the knot come loose. And from this, there is a massive unleashing, a blast, if you will, of Conqueror's Haki that splits the sky. And as we see this, Emmett, he begins to muse to himself, but he's still kind of talking to Luffy. He begins to laugh. He's like, hey, Luffy. And Luffy, he's surprised by the Conqueror's Haki. He's like, Conqueror's Haki? But Emmett continues on with his statement. He says, thank you. You let me hear that nostalgic rhythm one last time. Don't die. I won't let you die. We see the Marines and the Elders. After he says this, we see the Marines and the Elders all being affected by this massive blast of Conqueror's Haki. The Marine fighter, they're all getting knocked out. Some Vice Admirals are struggling to stay conscious. We got Dog commenting on how strong this Haki is, questioning if it even is Haki. And then we got Vice Admiral Hound. He's over here asking who's causing this? Where is this coming from? So the Elders, they get hit by this thing. They get blasted back into human form, and then all the elders, with the exception of Saturn and Mars, because we find out what happens to him later on, but all the elders, with the exception of Saturn, are blasted back to the room of authority in the Holy Land of Mary Joa. And when they get blasted back there, that's when we see St. Mars. St. Mars is already chilling in the room of authority. So, I want to talk about this real quick. St. Mars already being there, I want to know why he was already there. And by that I mean, the combination attack he took from Luffy and them, was it the combination of all of their hockeys combined hitting him that sent him back to the Holy Land? Was it him being sent far enough away from Egghead where he was summoned to by Saturn being the reason that he was sent back? Or is it just that his regeneration couldn't keep up with the damage and that undid what happened? So either it was the hockey that he was hit with was so overwhelmingly powerful that it undid what happened and sent him back. Either the damage was so overwhelmingly powerful that it sent him back. Or because he was summoned to Egghead by Saint Saturn, when he left the vicinity or whatever the radius of the summoning is to be on Egghead, whenever he got out of that range, he was automatically sent back to Mary Joa. I like to think it's the third option, but maybe it could be the hockey, maybe it could be damage. We don't exactly know right now, but we do know he was sent back before everybody else was sent back. So, all of the Gorosei are gone from Egghead except for Saint Saturn. And I believe another thing, I believe the reason Saint Saturn wasn't sent back to Mary Joa is because his physical body, he physically traveled from the Holy Land to Egghead Island. So, I believe once he was hit with the blast, of course he was sent back to his human form, but because his body was physically there, he physically made the journey to Egghead, he didn't have anywhere else to be sent back to. You feel me? So, there's that. But we cannot get stuck here. We must continue, so we will. Stay tuned. So, after we see what happened to the remaining members of the Gorosei, we cut back. Actually, no, we don't cut back over yet. We cut over to Emu in their little garden place or whatever, and they have fallen to their knees, screaming. One of the attendants is like, "Are you okay? Great Emu-sama." But Emu is there huffing and puffing, shaking. And then in their mind, all they doing is thinking about Joy Boy. Crazy. So, after we get that, we then cut back over to the Sunny. When it touches down on the ocean safely, Luffy greets the rest of the crew. They're like, "Hey, what's up? How y'all doing?" Everybody's like, we're pretty much fine. What happened to all the elders, the monsters? What happened to those guys? Luffy's like, don't really know. They just disappeared. But, everything is everything. Dory and Bragi, they're also confused by what just happened. Usopp and Chopper, they're just happy to be alive right now. Sanji is asking Nami if she's okay, to which she replies, "Yeah, I'm okay, but then we still got Atlas and Edison. They sacrificed themselves for us, basically. We wouldn't be here without them." But as they're sailing away, they're getting away from Egghead Island. As they're leaving, we cut back to Egghead, where we see Emeth the Iron Giant. He's done. I'm not assuming that he has anything left to give. Like, he's powering down. But we see Saint Saturn standing in front of Emeth, and I don't know what's about to go on with that, but we then cut into Emeth's memories as he is having a conversation with Joy Boy, or remembering a conversation that he had with Joy Boy once upon a time. And we get the silhouette of Joy Boy. He honestly strikes a resembling figure to Luffy. There is people saying that he has a peg leg and possibly a hook hand as well. I do see how you can see the peg leg there. I do want to like fully wait and see till we get like a full view of him and we can see what he looked like. But I'm not against him having the peg leg or the hook hand, to be honest. But it's mostly a silhouette. But we see Emmett in his prime, you know what I'm saying, in his heyday, and he's talking with Joy Boy. And I'm gonna give you the conversation verbatim once again. And we got Joy Boy, and he's like, "Listen up, Emmett. The time is at hand." Emmett is saying, "The time?" Joy Boy says, "I'm gonna gather up my most powerful haki and put it inside of you." Emmett is like, "Whoa!" He's shocked. He's like, "What are you? Why?" Joy Boy's like, "You're bound to live much longer than me, and I'm not always gonna be around to help you." This kind of saddens Emmett. He's like, "Oh, that sounds terrible." And Joy Boy is like, "But at some point, you're gonna be in mortal danger, or someone that you want to save will be. When that happens, I want you to untie this knot." And Emmett responds to this by saying, "So when the time is at hand, you'll still be there to help?" And Joy was like, "That's right. Whenever it happens, I'll be saving you from hearing the past, just like always." And this makes Emmett laugh, and he makes him happy, and he's like, "That makes me happy. Thank you. Now it doesn't matter if you're dead, it'll be like you're still with me." And Joy Boy says, "Hey, that's not going to be for ages." And Emmett says, "Yes, ages and ages. I hope I don't get lonely," as he laughs. And this, as he says those last final things, I believe we're cutting back to a present day Emmett, because we see him breaking down and he's still thinking these things. And this is a conversation he had. He's remembering to himself. So he's thinking this, and as he says that, as he says, "I hope I don't get lonely," and he remembers that final laugh he had with Joy Boy, that is the end of the chapter. Now, there were a lot of things that happened in this chapter, a lot of important things that could be brushed over as insignificant or that might be looked over. But I just want y'all to take notice of the things I said. Go back and reread, really look into what is being said in this chapter, what is being proposed for the future of the story. And then we can have a conversation about it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter. That's where I be talking about One Piece most of the time. Follow the TikTok. That's where you get most of the previews for stuff that's coming and all that other good stuff. Don't forget to check out the Crew Adventure series. We just dropped the season 1 finale of that. That's up on the channel. It's also up on the TikTok if you want to go check it out there. But once again, thank you all for joining us today. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe once again. And we will see you next time. Peace.